So here we are again, and last time we were about to take the car to Retro Rides Weekender at Goodwood, and we did, and I have to say I was amazed, blown away to be honest, by how many people had turned up specifically to see the car. And obviously knew there was going to be a lot of people there who would be milling around and see the car, but we met people who had flown in from other countries specifically to see the Escort, which was amazing really. It was a great weekend all round. We met loads of customers. I think we had 20 or perhaps just under 20 of projects that were either full builds by us or projects we've been involved with, all brought there by their owners. So that was really cool. It was just nice to relax and spend some time with customers and the staff and have a few beers, and the weather came good, so that was great. I guess I should put out a thank you to David Murphy, who organises Retro Rides, for his usual massively stressful amount of hard work he does to make that show happen. But yeah, we got it there and we got it back, and it's all intact, no scratches, no dents. we didn't put any cordoning or ropes around it. We don't like to do that sort of thing. And one thing, we don't go in for the whole mirrors underneath thing. I think that's a bit of a car show geek thing. So one thing we did see a lot of over the weekend was people lying down to have a look under the back of the car, which was pretty cool. If you want to see the underneath, you've got to put the effort in after all. Yeah, I was sort of all over the place, but one of the things I did want to do was watch some of our customers out on track in the various cars that are more track orientated. There's Alistair and his Chevette HSR. Davey brought the Quattro and the Alpha with the Millington engine. And a few others as well, but it was just awesome seeing. I mean, Alistair was just on the ragged edge in that Chevette. It was incredible to see. I mean, he's always a quick driver, but I mean, they were going out in groups of 5 cars, I think, and we had 5 cars on track, all of which were 300 horsepower plus. And in about 3 laps, he lapped all but one of those cars. It's just unbelievable. So that was really cool to see the cars out on track. So we had the Skyline engined Manta 400, we had the 2 Ascona 400, the Kurt and Jason. One's a supercharged red top, one's naturally aspirated red top power. We had the Cortina, which everybody loved it actually. It's interesting, we did this engine conversion. We did an engine conversion project years back on a Cortina, Mark II Cortina. We did a Toyota 4-age engine in it on throttle bodies. And that was there, and so many people absolutely loved it. So that was cool, and we were talking to the owner of that about now doing a full build on it, but it would be still 4-age power. The Cadet GTE coupe that we did the body shell on, which is now a rally car that gets rallied hard all the time, that was good. Lee brought his Chevette, that was the one we did years ago. Again, it was a proper sleeper, orange saloon with like stickers in the back window from the old people who used to own it, and it's got a 300 horsepower LET turbo in it. So that one's cool, that surprises a few people. I suppose it's always nice to be able to show off the work we've been doing, because we spend so much time just beavering away in a workshop. You kind of lose touch with the reality and what's going on. So it's nice when people kind of come over and say, you know, we've been following you, and you know, it's amazing how many people now say that kind of we're the guys they look up to and take inspiration from, which is a kind of weird situation, because I spent so long looking at other people's work and sort of idolising these other car builders. To have other people say that to us is it's just nice. I don't know, it's not something I've ever thought about being an inspiration to people, but it seems that that's the case. So yeah, car's back here, and the biggies really that since then are the wiring, which we talked about was one of the big things left to do, and we needed to finish the oil plumbing, which Adam, who was just under here then, he's just fitting the breather tank. We've done all the oil lines now, that's all completely in there. He's just fitting the breather tank, which was just back from anodizing. And then the biggie is that in about, it's 20 to 1 now, in about a couple of hours time, the guy from Cosworth is going to come over and oversee the first fire up. So a bit of a high pressure one. It's bound to go wrong because normally in these situations you fire up the car already and then go, hey, it's first fire up, and pretend you're firing it for the first time having already done it. We're just going in straight in there with the first fire up with live cameras on it. So it's bound to go wrong. It's pretty much the long and short of it. But going back to the bits we've been doing in the meantime, between retro rides and now, wiring was the critical one and some of the interior bits. So I'll pop round and show you what we've been up to. Oh, that's the noise you have to make when you're starting to get a bit older, when you sit down. Oh. Right, so in here there is various changes. I think we've sort of shown hints of all of this previously, but we've now got the dash top pad that we made Alcantara'd and fitted. These are the Audi S3 vents that we were using, and these have got a few functions which are quite cool. You turn the ring there to open and close the vent, and then you've also, obviously you can move them around, but then you've also got this here which you push and pull, which directs either the air through the middle or out of the sides, which means we can add a bit more demist. Although we have also put demist vents on here to back that up as well. You can see everything's come together here with the anodised panels we did. We've had those laser engraved. A guy called Bruce Holder did that for us, who does a lot of little kind of merchandise things like key rings and that sort of stuff. But because he's quite good at sort of design work, I'm happy to do this sort of small batches. We thought he was the ideal guy for doing this. So I got him to just do a little bit of design tweaking on the actual logos and come up with the symbols that we were going to use on the air direction controls. And also we sort of talked about the size of the width of the words on here and trying to get it all look reasonably symmetrical. So he came up with the idea of using these little mini thermometer logos for the temperature, which looks pretty cool. And then the biggie that we've obviously been working on since last time is the wiring loom, which is now completely built. That's sort of basically a military spec loom. All the wire is Raychem Type 44 wire, which is just a harsh environment wire, so it's really resistant to chemicals and abrasion. The bulkhead connectors are Deutsch Auto Sport connectors, which are kind of like aluminium housings with a knurled ring that you turn to latch them. And we kind of wanted anything on the bulkhead to be unpluggable, so the engine is attached via two large Autosport connectors to the bulkhead, so you can just undo those two connectors and it's then separated from the rest of the car wiring. And likewise the loom that leads to the front of the car for the lights and that sort of thing is on another bulkhead connector there. And then everything else that's on sort of inside the car would be on, you can just see a couple hanging down here at the minute. These Deutsch DT and DTM connectors form the rest of the connections throughout. And then the whole thing is powered by the PDM, which we kind of touched on briefly before, but now everything's actually up and running. I can show you in a bit more detail. So I can key on now. Don't know if you can hear that, but that's the fuel pump running, and show you some of the things we've got up and running. So obviously you can see the warning lights on here for oil pressure and alternator. We've got indicators. I mean, this is one of the cool things we talked about before, was the Manta stalk that we've used. You've got so many functions on one stalk. So you've got indicate on the stalk, your wipers are on the stalk. If you twist it, there's 3 positions on that. You've got screen wash on the end, and you've got your main beam, dip beam on there. And then on here, that's the headlight control there. You can see the illumination on the gauges, and then we've got somewhere, it's not been mounted yet, but hanging down here, there's a dial to just dim the face brightness on the instruments. Got heater controls here, 3-speed fan on there, and then this one controls the direction, so if I put it down there, that's demist. And it's all electronic control, there's no cable, so everything feels nice to use. That's now exclusively coming out of those vents there. If I put it onto the next one, that's face, feet, and then a mixture of both at the end there. Temperature control is not going to do a lot at the moment because the engine's not running, but that's just a potentiometer, so it's a real nice light knob which just opens and shuts a servo operated water valve. So that's that lot. But if I have a look at this is where I've got the laptop connected up to the PDU at the minute, And on the left hand side are all my input channels, and on the right hand side are all the output channels. And I've actually got this just connected to give me a live readout at the minute, which is interesting, so I can see the current draws on any channel. This is just the overall here, so you can see I've got 12.6 volts from the battery, and there's a total current of 0.37 amps being drawn, which would almost entirely be the warning lights on here, and possibly the speedo's turned on, so that'll be that. If I ignition off completely, you see 0 amps being drawn. And then you can see the pull on the separate channels, so if I go over to, probably got lights on this one, put my headlights on. These are now green because that's the side lights and headlights. If we go back to there, that's side lights only. Side lights drawing 1.8 amps, and that's the total current still. Turn that to the next one, that's headlights input. So that's showing that that input is live, and because of the schematic that I've drawn here, that's turned the headlights on here, which is pulling 9.5 amps. Likewise indicate, see that's now saying the indicator is live, and that's showing the flash. Now that is just a programming on here, so literally this logo that I've put here represents the flash. So you draw a line from the input through to the flash unit and then to the output, and the flash you can program any amount of time on and off. So at the moment I've got it programmed for half a second on, half a second off, but I can just change the flash rate by changing the settings on that. And the sort of really handy bit is if there's any changes, you want to change a button to do something else, I can just draw this line to a different output. So if I drag this line up to here, it would, turning on the indicators would turn on the lights. So, you know, not that you want to do that now, but there are often instances where you've set a button to do a certain command and you think afterwards, bloody hell, I wish I'd wired the loom differently, and actually you don't need to, because you can effectively change any wire to lead to any other wire simply in the software. And the other big thing is obviously because the current that I'm switching via all of this switch gear is only switching a tiny signal to the PDU input, nothing is drawing any significant current through the actual switches, so there's not really any electrical load on the switches when you switch them, so you don't get any wear on the switches. If something does blow, there's a reset button under here, so you can just press the button and reset that circuit. Obviously if there's a continuing problem, then that problem needs fixing, but let's say you were just changing a bulb and happened to short it out, then that tripped that channel. On here you'd see that as a red, it'll come up red on here and say it's tripped, but yeah, regardless of that, you can reset that channel with a push button down there. So rather than if you've blown a fuse, you don't have to pull the fuse and put the fuse back in, you just literally press a button and that resets every channel that's tripped. So there are no fuses and relays. I mean, that's the biggie, is that this takes the place of any fuse and relay, and just gives you an enormous amount of information as well. So yeah, that's all pretty exciting. And the big thing that this is all leading up to is the fact that we are now ready to start the engine. We've already taken the plugs out and cranked it and got oil pressure. You know, just from cranking it, we had oil pressure up around, I think, 40 psi. So yeah, we're literally ready to turn the key. We're just waiting for the guy from Cosworth to turn up. He's going to plug into the ECU, just make sure all the sensor readings on the ECU look sensible, and then yeah, first fire up. So slightly nervous, but we'll see how we go.
I'm just moving the pedal, not getting any change on that. It is, my friend. Right, there you go, gentlemen. T-map is T-map, so B, what's back then?
Well, yeah. We'll check it on some other cylinders, but if we've got spark fuel, then it's just at the wrong time.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you reckon we're at?
Well, I was curious about that, but I was going to wait till the I was just wondering if there's any chance that that's supposed to be there. That picture would suggest it's actually going that way.
Picture would suggest.
Just for presumably ignition is fully So yeah, that was a successful first fire up. Slight complication initially. Everything looked good. He had to just change the map on the ECU because the ECU that we have is not actually the one he thought we had. But then, yeah, for ages couldn't work out what was going on. We had sparks, we had fuel, all the basic elements. They were clearly being injected in a pulsed fashion, which suggests that the crank signal was coming through. And all the elements were there for it to fire up. And we were thinking, well, it kind of sounds like it's just not timed right. It's like it's sparking at the wrong time. And he was back and forth chatting to the guys at Cosworth saying, I don't understand it, we must have a map that's incorrect or something. And then I just thought, it's almost like it's the firing order's wrong. And then I looked at the sub-loom that's attached to the coils and thought, well, it is actually possible that that wire reaches for the plugs to be put on the other way around. And I thought, well, it can't be because the wires look really awkward coming this way and they flow really naturally that way to where the plug was that we had. But I thought, well, maybe, you never know, because in their infinite wisdom, the loom manufacturer didn't actually put the numbers on the coil plug, so it doesn't say which one is which. And we quick Google, found a picture of one of those in a Caterham, and yeah, that loom's the other way. So undo those, plug the coil packs in the right way around, and funnily enough, it fired straight up. Yeah, once we had it fired up, I think pretty much all went perfectly. We had one hose clip that was a little loose on the coolant pipe, tweaked that up. Took a little bit of bleeding to get the air out of the coolant system, but after a while, yeah, got the thermostat open, water flowing nicely, temperatures were stable. So yeah, we're pretty much happy now. We've got a sort of basic map on there just for our kind of initial shakedown and testing. And then once we've kind of got through all of that and we're happy that all the basic mechanical functions are working as they should, we'll be taking it to Rolling Road to get it mapped fully. Yeah, I would say that is a pretty successful day, with the only issues being stupid mistakes basically, but not causing any significant issues. So yeah. So yeah, one thing I mentioned in the last episode was that we were getting some badges made for the car, which were like a replica of the twin cam badge, but with Cosworth instead of twin cam. And we've had that done now. I've got them here. In fact, I've already sold a few of those. But if you do want to buy one of those, if you go on our website into the shop section and into the merchandise section, you'll see those badges there available. At the moment, we're only set up for UK sales via the website. So if you're in the UK, you can just buy them via the website. If you're in another country, just drop me an email, inquiries@retropower.co.uk. And I'll send you an invoice and you can do it that way. The communication might be a little slow on the email just because I've got quite a lot of work on, but we will get there eventually. So you can buy those if you want them. Question is, I suppose, how many episodes are going to be left? I'm guessing 1 or 2. Next steps for us now is basically starting to test it, making sure the clutch and gearbox and all the rest of that work nicely, moving forward to some road testing. Might book a track session in to get some sort of full throttle testing done once we've had it fully mapped. And then, yeah, we're kind of building up towards handover. We've still got to finish the interior, of course, so I guess maybe next time we'll be testing and finishing the interior, and then after that it'll be the countdown to handover, and that sadly will be the end of the series and the end of the car being here. It'd be sad if it wasn't for the fact that we're doing the Jag next.